Psychology is the scientific study of mind and behavior. How do psychologists think about and study the human mind and behavior? Psychology is such a huge topic, and conveying the depth and breadth of subject it can be difficult. As a result, a number of unique and distinctive branches of psychology have emerged to deal with specific subtopics. Each branch or field looks at questions and problems from a different perspective. While each has its own focus on psychological problems or concerns, all areas share a common goal of studying and explaining human thought and behavior. Because human behavior is so varied, the number of subfields in psychology is also constantly growing and evolving. Some of these subfields have been firmly established as areas of interest, and many colleges and universities offer courses and degree programs in these topics. Each field of psychology represents a specific area of study focused on a particular topic. Oftentimes, psychologists specialize in one of those areas as a career. The following are just some of the major branches of psychology. Behavioral psychology, also known as behaviorism, is a theory of learning based on the idea that all behaviors are acquired through conditioning. While this branch of psychology dominated the field during the first part of the 20th century, it became less prominent during the 1950s. However, behavioral techniques remain a mainstay in therapy, education, and many other areas. Behavioral psychologists use research-based learning theories to help patients modify their behaviors and use behavior therapy to treat anxiety disorders, depression, and substance abuse, and mental illness. The field is sometimes known as cognitive behavioral psychology. People also utilize behavioral studies such as classical conditioning and operant conditioning to teach or modify behavior. For example, a teacher might use a system of reward in order to teach students to behave during class. When students are good, they receive gold stars, which can be turned to in some sort of special privilege. Comparative psychology is the branch of psychology concerned with the study of animal behavior. The study of animal behavior can lead to deeper and broader understanding of human psychology. Comparative psychology often utilizes a comparative method to study animal behavior. The comparative method involves comparing the similarities and differences among species to gain an understanding of evolutionary relationships. This area has its roots in the work of researchers such as Charles Darwin and Jules Robbins, and has grown into a highly multidisciplinary subject. Psychologists often contribute to this field, as do biologists, anthropologists, ecologists, geneticists, and many more. Counseling psychology. Counseling psychology is one of the largest individual subfields in psychology. It is centered on treating clients experiencing mental distress and a wide variety of psychological symptoms. What does counseling psychologists do? This includes prevention, assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of clients with mental health disorders such as anxiety, depression, substance abuse, as well as more complex disorders such as PTSD and personality disorders. The Society of Counseling Psychology describes the field as an area that can improve interpersonal functioning throughout life by improving social and emotional health, as well as addressing concerns about health, work, family, marriage, and more. Cross-cultural psychology is a branch of psychology that looks at how culture practically influences human behavior. Cross-cultural psychology is the study of similarities and differences in behavior among individuals who have developed in different cultures. The search for relationships between cultural context and human behavior is carried out within three general frames of reference. The IACCP was established in 1972, and this branch of psychology has continued to grow and develop since that time. Cross-cultural psychology is also emerging as an increasingly important topic as researchers strive to understand both the differences and similarities among people of various cultures throughout the world. Today, increasing numbers of psychologists investigate how behavior differs among various cultures throughout the world. Sport psychology is a study of how psychology influences sports athletic performance, exercise, and physical activity. Some sport psychologists work with professional athletes and coaches to improve performance and increase motivation. Other professionals utilize exercise and sport to enhance people's lives and well-being throughout the entire lifespan. Educational psychology is a branch of psychology concerned with schools, teaching psychology, educational issues, and student concerns. Educational psychologists often study how students learn or work directly with students, parents, teachers, or administrators to improve student outcomes. Educational psychologists support schools and local authority to improve all children's experience of learning. They use their training in psychology and knowledge of children development to assess difficulties children have in their learning. They might study how different variables influence individual student outcomes. They also study topics such as learning disabilities, giftedness, the instructional process, and the individual differences. Forensic psychology is a specialty area that deals with issues related to psychology and law. Those who work in this field of psychology apply psychological principles to legal issues. This may involve studying criminal behavior or treatment or working directly in the court system. Psychologists perform a wide variety of duties, including providing testimony in court cases, assessing children in suspected child abuse cases, preparing strangers to give testimony, and evaluating the mental expertise. In many cases, people working in forensic psychology are not necessarily forensic psychologists. These individuals may be clinical psychologists, school psychologists, neurologists, or counselors who lend their physical expertise to provide testimony, analysis, or recommendation in legal or criminal cases. Health psychology is a specialty area that focuses on how biology, psychology, behavior, and social factors influence health and illness. The field of health psychology is focused on promoting health as well as prevention and treatment of diseases and illness. These professionals not only improve healthy behavior, but they also work on the prevention and treatment of illness and disease. Health psychologists often deal with health-related issues such as weight management, smoking cessation, etc. Some professionals in this field have designed prevention public awareness programs. Abnormal psychology is the area that looks at psychopathology and abnormal behavior. The term covers a broad range of disorders from depression to obsession compulsion to personality disorders, eating disorders, and many more. Mental health professionals have assessed, diagnosed, and treated a wide variety of psychological disorders including anxiety and depression. Counselors, clinical psychologists, and psychotherapists often work directly in this field. Biopsychology is a branch of psychology focused on how the brain, neurons, and nervous system influence thoughts, feeling, and behavior. This field draws on many different disciplines, including basic psychology, experimental psychology, biology, physiology, and cognitive psychology, and neuroscience. Biopsychology is also sometimes referred to as physiological psychology, behavioral neuroscience, and psychobiology. People who work in this field often study how brain injuries and brain disease impact human behavior.